Welcome to Get Your Mind Right, the podcast where merchant services, digital marketing, and personal growth collide. Tune in for real talk, fresh insights, and the motivation to level up.
Good morning, John Johnson here, and welcome to Get Your Mind Right. This is the world's only podcast devoted to digital marketing and merchant services professionals. With me here is relationship advocate Whitney Johnson. Good morning, Whitney.
Good morning.
Well, I'm going to start like we have the last couple of times. How many times have you been a guest on the show now?
Is this number 4?
Number 4.
Is that right?
I don't know. You tell me.
We'll go with 4.
We'll go with 4. Well, we've got a great subject this morning, and I know some of the folks looked at the title, they might have been scratching their heads a little bit, but I am definitely not. And for you folks in the audience here, Whitney is really the go-to expert for getting paperwork executed and getting it put in the system. So you might be scratching your head, well, isn't that part of the job? Well, one would think so, but we have varying degrees of success with people do that. So this is today's podcast is for you folks here. So let's dive right into this, okay? So you're now the source. You're teaching classes on this with inside these walls here. How did this all come about? How did this become your niche?
As I got into this job, I just found this is something that I'm good at. I signed quite a few deals, and everyone around me has kind of recognized maybe where that gap is that maybe I have those skills that other people might be lacking a little bit more.
Okay. So is that good or bad news for you?
No, it's good just because this is something that I'm good at. I've found that I'm successful at, and I find that it helps me sign and close more deals, which is good for everyone. And of course, whenever I can share that knowledge, everyone wins.
So how do you think folks take that? You feel like I personally know how much effort goes into putting on training, and sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. So this isn't something that I set out to do. This is just something that was.
It landed on you.
It was just part of the job, and then I found, and I had kind of have a unique perspective on this, just because in my first. Or one of my previous roles at Evolve, I was in a position where I kind of got that bird's eye view, and I could see what was working and what wasn't. And then whenever I came into my own as a sales rep, I was able to see where those gaps were and close them myself.
Okay, very good. So I want you to give me a little peek behind the curtain here. So really want to narrow this down to you've got that merchant or that digital client where they're getting ready to say yes here. What's that typical rhythm look like for you following that?
Yeah, so if they're getting ready to say yes, I want to do whatever I can do to make it easy on them to continue to say yes. Because it's one thing to get a verbal from the merchant, okay, yes, this works for me. It's a whole nother to get the information needed for the application, everything needed for underwriting, getting the paperwork signed, getting them installed, getting them processing, or seeing those digital results. So it's more than just the initial yes, of course.
Gotcha. So you talked a lot when I saw you last speak on this subject about strong follow-up. Okay, so that implies that a lot of reps are really bad at follow-up. This just checking in. What is that all about?
I think people are more inclined to go for, okay, what's easy, right? This person's in front of me, they're saying yes right now, they're ready to sign. That's all well and good. We all love those opportunities, but the fact of the matter is you're going to have to work for it. So I think that just checking in, it's enabling you to do your due diligence, do your follow-up, but I think where a lot of people are really lacking is creating meaningful follow-up and meaningful touches to go ahead and complete that application.
Yeah, so talk to me about what those are and why just checking in doesn't cut it.
Just something along the lines of just checking in. You're not adding anything to the merchant, right? If anything, you're adding something more to their plate, right? I know these people that we work with, they're very busy. They've got businesses to run, they've got employees to manage, and frankly, you're giving them another thing to do. So I think that just checking in, it's just adding to that to-do list, right?
Yeah.
And you're so far from that point from your initial conversation. The merchant, they've kind of cooled off all from that excitement for the value that you were bringing them, or maybe the savings, that kind of thing. So I think that impactful follow-up language is really important.
So you're going to wrap your follow-up language as a tie back to why the merchant said yes to start with.
Exactly. I mean, you want to drive value, right? You want to remind them why they wanted to proceed with you in the first place. You want to create urgency, right? I find a lot of merchants and even sales reps, they're kind of lacking this, right? They kind of assume that, well, eventually it's going to happen. It might not, right?
Right.
Any day that you're getting farther and farther out from that initial yes, those chances of you actually closing that deal just go down and down.
You know, we talked about this, and you were part of a conversation this morning, but it's on a different subject, is that I felt for a long time, and this was me too, sometimes people don't follow up because they really don't know what to say, or they don't have anything new to say.
Yeah.
So what do you do about that? Because occasionally, you know, I know you're a junkyard dog on following up, but sometimes you just feel like you've run out of spit. You know, I don't have any more bullets to fire.
Yeah.
So what do you do in that situation?
You've got to get creative, right? Remind the merchant, hey, this is how much we were going to save you. This is how we were going to streamline your operations. This is how we were going to make your life easier. Keep that to the forefront. I find that that's really impactful. Something else that some of my colleagues especially utilize is adding value. So say, hey, you know, I found this statistic here on how electronic invoicing, how this is increasing or accelerating accounts receivable. Thought this would be interesting to you, and kind of positioning yourself as a business consultant more than just like, hey, I'm going to sell you processing, I'm going to sell you digital. Just a reminder, this is how what I'm doing for you, this is why it works.
Yeah, I got you. You know, it is, I am recommending more and more that folks use AI.
Yeah.
And, you know, for example, I even use it sometimes, right? I always want to have a fresh reason for following up or to add value, but I'm kind of like, I may not have any ideas, or I got a lot of things going on, and for me to generate ideas, it takes some time. So it's really easy to copy your email string into your AI tool, whichever you use, and say, hey, give me 10 reasons, compelling reasons of why this merchant is going to want to engage me on this issue. And what it does for me is I don't have to think about it. I'm not going to put it off because I know it's going to require some thought. But yet, when I ask those 10 things, there's going to be something that's going to resonate. There'll be something I'll use and edit and put my own voice. But again, what I'm doing is I'm not putting it off till the next day, which means if I put it off one time, chances are I'm probably going to put it off again.
Yeah.
I'm going to take action on it now.
So I think AI is an incredibly valuable tool, and I feel like there's people all over the spectrum, but and of course you don't want to use AI to replace your communication, and I've seen people lean too heavily on that side too. So it's definitely a delicate balance, but I think more of what you were saying, use it to generate ideas.
Ideas.
Maybe you are stuck, but
it's not the idea, but it's an idea.
It's just an idea. Like you said, it'll give you a list of 10, you know, maybe 2 of those will convey what you're looking for. You put it in your own words, you make it relevant to the merchant. It really is a great tool.
Yeah. And you're ready to go. You know, the other thing I thought about this too is I've known this for a long time about meaningful follow-up. But this thing about merchants, and I think that, I don't think this, I know this, is that reps lose sight of what's important to the person they're dealing with. Like, and you know, we're all narcissistic, selfish beings by design, right? That's who we are. But you know, your mindset is like, hey, I got to get this piece of paperwork in order to get this underwritten to the merchant, and I can't get them to do it. You know, you're not living in the merchant's world at all. And the fact of the matter is you can't. There's no way for you to know. You know, we do know that they're super busy. They got a million things that they're going on. They've got competing interests. And to your earlier point, I mean, I've dealt with situations before where the merchant, they forgot why they even said yes to start with. They didn't only forget, they have no idea why they might have said yes to that. So then when you add a time element to that, it makes it even more difficult. So this notion of remind them, making it easy, it is really important. And I'll give you a parallel to that. This is a relatively new thing for me, but you know, like when people are experiencing some sort of personal crisis, you know, it may be sickness or death of a loved one. You're the human being, if you're a friend with them, your natural reaction to that is, what can I do to help? So I learned that that's actually the worst thing you can do for that person, because they're overwhelmed, they're on tilt, and now what you're doing is you're putting another task on them.
Right.
Okay, let me know what I need to do for you. So really, the better answer in that situation is take action. You know, bring them a meal.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, I'm gonna be at your house at 5 o'clock. Take your dog for a walk.
Yeah.
So I think that when I read that, I of course, I always think, well, how does this also relate to business? It's also exactly what we're doing at Merchant, right?
Yeah.
How do I take this off the merchant and make it easy for them, and then the deal can still move forward?
Yeah, so just last week I was talking to someone, he runs a barbecue restaurant, and his dad was recently in the hospital, and his wife is pregnant, and he's saying, hey, I've got all this stuff, I want to move forward, but I'm not sure about this, and that, I got to sit down and sign the paperwork. I said, hey, don't worry, I want to make this easy on you, like you said. So literally what I did, I had his questions, I sent him an email, listed out verbatim, addressing everything that he was looking for. I said, hey, here's the application, click through it, sign it, snap a copy of a voided check, we'll be good to go, we'll take care of it from there. So, there is only so much you can do when someone's world has been turned upside down, but, leaning into that humanity, but also, like you said, making their life easier.
Yes, and that's the tie, right? That's the tie that binds the personal and the professional. I'm making it easy on you. Regardless of what your situation is personally or professionally, I'm going to take this on and make it easy on you.
Right.
So one of the things you talked about too, when I saw you speak before, is you've got 4 pillars of strong follow-up. You remember that? It's in the quiz, but we can make it a quiz.
I don't need a quiz.
You talked. Your pillars were value-driven, time-sensitive, action-oriented, and personalized.
Yeah.
So break those down for me.
Yeah, so let's start here with value-driven, right? If I'm just sending you an email saying, hey, just checking in, that's so easy for me to blow off, just because, I know you're checking in. I know this is something I've got to do. You're just reminding me, and I'm more stressed out, right? But then, that's when you can take that opportunity, like, hey, this is what I'm doing for you. I'm going to streamline your payments. I know you're stressed out. I know this is a stressful thing to make this big change, but once we get this little hoop jump through, your life is going to be so much easier. So taking all of those chances to remind the merchant why they're doing business with you in the first place. Next, I know we've got time sensitive. I've mentioned this a little bit earlier. I find sometimes folks can tend to lack urgency, right? They've got a million things to do. You're on the back burner. This is just another thing for them to deal with. But time sensitive, hey, Mr. Merchant, your time is money, right? If you're spending all this time trying to collect this outstanding money that's due to you, that's money down the drain, right? The sooner we can get you up and running, the sooner we can get those more leads in the door or whatever, the sooner your life is going to be better off, right? So, let's get this going. So again, just creating that urgency, because it is an urgent matter. Action oriented, I think that's a really big one, because whenever you say something along the lines of just checking in, there's no accountability on the part of the merchant, right? Again, you're creating just another thing for them to do. They've got to go check back and remind themselves of what it is that you were talking about. So I think creating that action, say like, hey, do we need to have a follow-up? I can hop on a call real quick. I can walk you through signing the paperwork. Or, hey, if you just snap a photo of your driver's license, that's it. We will be good to go. So creating that action and that call to action, I think, kind of leans on that urgency a little bit too. Lastly here, personalized, right? I think that's a big one too. Going back on that, just checking in, that is so dull, it's so bland, everyone uses it, and you're not distinguished at all from the other person, the other credit card person knocking on their door, right? You're not just a salesperson, right? You are a business expert.
Yeah.
You have solutions that are going to make their life easier. So
right.
I think using names, using the name of their business, using those real numbers and figures and data that they've given you, I think that's so important.
Okay. Very good. So, what's your take on texting with your merchants? I know this is a little bit controversial. First of all, do you use it?
I do.
So tell me the context then and when you use it and when you don't.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I want to give a disclaimer. None of my merchants have my personal cell phone number. And I think that's a really important distinction to make, because there's a line between my personal life and my professional life.
Now wait a minute though. I want to give all my merchants personal service, and that's part of what I sell, 24/7 access.
So, if that's how you choose to run your business, that is just fine, but my family and my friends take precedent about my merchants. And here at Evolve, that's why we hire folks and we're partnered with folks who can add that service, especially like if you're having an issue with your terminal, you don't want to talk to me about it. You want to talk to the person who is specialized, and has that knowledge, who, again, we are paying to do that job, right? Because that's not my best good as a sales rep, right? Let me get you in touch with the folks who can handle that. But on the other side of that, within our CRM, we do have a texting platform. And I think it is huge. And, I think mentally I had a little bit of a barrier with this initially, just because I didn't see it. First of all, I still don't think it's the most effective method of communication. If I need to get a point across or talk to you about something, I'm going to pick up the phone and call you. Same thing with email. I just think that's a little bit more professional. But that said, there is definitely a time and a place for texting, just because with the way that the world is, it's an increasingly acceptable method of communication. And I think as a rep, it's important for you to adapt to that. So within our CRM, I have someone, I was literally a lead I was working yesterday. I had called this lady. I had not heard a thing from her. This was a referral from a financial institution. Finally, I left her a voicemail. I sent her a text. I said, hey, you still interested in this? She responded right away. So I think that just goes to show it can be incredibly helpful.
Yeah, so you gotta have some touch and feel for that particular merchant, what the situation is.
Absolutely, and I think, I'd exhausted calling them and emailing them, so I thought, hey, I don't know if they text, but we'll give it a try.
Yes.
And it just so happened that they did.
I want to grab a microphone here from you for a second, because I've seen for years and years that new reps, what they're trying to do is differentiate themselves, and what they'll do, like the first thing they'll do is they'll give them their personal number, and they'll say, hey, I work 24/7, you can call me, and so first of all, what I want people to hear, if you're new here, is every new rep, that's the strategy they adopt. So you're not offering anything unique or special or particularly valuable. The other thing you're doing is you're setting yourself and your merchant up for failure, and here's why. So first of all, are you really accessible 24/7? And the answer to that is no, you're not, okay? The other thing that you're doing is you are putting your merchant on a very bad path and a quick road to failure.
Yeah.
Because what's going to happen is you've told them, got an issue, call me. Well, what happens if I'm traveling and I'm in an area where I don't have self-service for an hour and their terminal's down? What do I do then?
They're dead in the water.
They're dead in the water, okay? So let's say they do call you, or you've been at meetings all morning, okay, and they've been down for 3 hours, and they call you, and you, of course, you don't have the technical wherewithal, or you don't have systems access to fix their problem.
Yeah.
Are they in a better or worse spot because they called you?
Horrible.
Yeah, horrible spot. So, people, I think they're well-meaning when they do this.
Yeah.
A much better way of doing this is educating your merchant, like, hey, listen, when you got a problem, here's the number you call, like, and here's what happens. It's not that I don't want to take your call. We got people in the office, they're trained to do this, they got the tools, they got the systems to fix you.
Yeah.
Now, you can call me or text me anytime you want, or if you're not getting satisfaction or you need anything, but anything that's time sensitive or service affecting, please call these numbers.
I think that's really helpful just to give that context up front, like you mentioned, because I think, part of where I make myself stand out is just giving those merchants a good customized experience, right?
Yeah.
They know they can come to me with questions. They know that I'm very knowledgeable. But once I have that paperwork approved, I set those expectations up front. Say, hey, I'm going to get you in touch with my tech team. They're going to walk you through how to use everything. After that, I'm going to get you in touch with my customer service team. They're going to get you PCI compliant. They're going to answer any questions. So I think it is really powerful just to set those expectations up front. And frankly, that's not going to make any difference to the merchant because they're going to know, hey, I'm always going to have access to someone who's going to be able to solve my problem. You know, I take that even a step further. I've got the number for tech support and customer service in the footer of my email. So that way, whenever people go searching for my contact information to answer a question, they'll see that there and they'll be immediately routed to the proper channels.
I completely agree. So, one of the statements you made is you said email is still a king on post-appointment follow-through. Okay, so I'm ready to bend my knee to the king. Tell me what that's about.
Yeah, so let's say, so I do business almost exclusively over the phone, right? So what I will do almost after every single call is I will send a follow-up email. And there's a few reasons for that, but I think the greatest is clarity. So, hey, Mr. Merchant, this is what we talked about. We're going to do this, this, and this for you. This is the price we talked about, or here's that analysis based on that current statement that you provided me. It's going to outline all of the details.
Yeah.
I found especially whenever I was a baby rep, maybe there was something that I didn't explain as clearly as I could have, or maybe I did explain it clearly, but the merchant misunderstood it.
Yeah.
And then of course, once they get onboarded and they realize, oh, this wasn't what I thought it was, that's not good for anyone. So I find that sending that follow-up email, it keeps me safe, just, it upholding my integrity, like, hey, this is what I told you. But on the other side of that, setting the proper expectations with the merchant, and of course later they can lean back on that whenever they are making that final decision.
Yeah, the other thing is I like doing that too. I like even doing it, not even necessarily before paper or after paperwork signed, but just recapping a meeting.
Yeah.
And what that also does is that's a great tool for me, because when I do that, my next steps, if I got a follow up or it's a meeting or whatever, I've got that to reflect on.
Right.
And now I'm up to speed.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really great productivity booster. You also talked about a great subject line and getting attention and calls to action.
Yeah. So again, I think, we've touched on this many times already, but people are busy, right? And they've got a million emails in their inbox. You want yours to be compelling. You want it to be opening, right? So I think too, especially like if someone is coming back 2 weeks later to review a conversation initially, you want to have those keywords. So like, I don't know, merchant services or processing or, the name of the business. So that kind of goes back into that personalization factor, but also very clear what the email is regarding. And of course, if you can find a way to throw something compelling in there, do that as well. So, eliminating processing expenses with buyer's choice, or streamlining your accounts receivable, or that kind of thing, those keywords.
Gotcha. I agree with that. So let's talk about getting the MPA signed. And there's a lot of reps that really fall down. And and sometimes, I was going to say before they cross or right at the finish line, but sometimes they've actually crossed the finish line and they fall down. So why do you think that is? What's the mindset that drives this failure?
I think it probably varies a little bit from person to person. But I mean, to be frank, it's a complicated process, right? You got to collect a lot of data. You got to ensure that you're filling out the proper forms with the proper pricing and the proper features and all of that stuff. But I mean, as the rep, as a professional, that's on you to get good at that, right? So I found what a lot of folks do is overwhelm the merchant, just because it is a lot of information that you need to collect. And then of course, the merchant sees, oh my gosh, this is a ton of data, I've got to go dig for this and that. And it makes it hard, right? And you're there to make their life easier. So something that I've done is I'll create a list. So this is all the information I need to put the paperwork together. What's so nice, a lot of that information is publicly available. You can get it from their Google page, their website, their Facebook, the Secretary of State website. That is a great information source to not only collect that data for the application, but also, supporting documents as well. So what I've started doing is saying, hey, this is all the info that I have already. Please verify it for accuracy. I've highlighted a couple things here. This is what I'm missing. If you can go grab it for me. After that, Mr. Merchant, I'm going to put your paperwork together. It's a link. You click through it, you sign it. It'll send me a copy. It'll send you a copy. We are good to go, right? Whatever you can do to make that easier. And of course, our sales support team, they have made leaps and bounds in streamlining that even further through the forms that they've developed.
Mm-hmm. All right, so I don't know when the last time you gave this training was, but I did take a note on this. You may or may not remember this, but what's the one thing reps should never say after the appointment that's going to kill the momentum?
Did I say something explicitly?
You did.
Maybe you'll have to remind me.
Okay. I tell you what, we're gonna edit that out.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was because it's been a while since I made this.
Okay.
All right. So we got the finish line aside here. So you've seen a lot of deals go sideways and a lot of deals that close like very quickly. What do you see the difference makers?
I think, again, I don't know that I can speak to other people's experiences, but in my own experience, it's been making it easy versus making it hard. I have a very painful memory of my first couple months as a sales rep because, I was really scrapping for leads there and getting little wins here and there when I could. Of course, now I'm in a position to be a little bit more, choosy, I will say. But maybe we'll edit that out. But, gosh.
Hang on. Edit at 26, choosy.
We'll start. Ask that question again.
Okay. So Whit, you've been around a while now, and you've seen some deals that's closed very quickly, and you've seen some that has gone sideways on you. What's the difference maker here?
Yeah, I think the major difference there is making it easy on the merchant versus making it hard on the merchant. So I have a very painful memory of whenever I was a baby sales rep. I was so excited. Deals were few and far between, so any win was a great big win. So I was speaking with the merchant, and I said, hey, great, this is everything I need. Go ahead and fill this list out. I'll put your paperwork together. And kind of like what I was just saying previously, they were just so overwhelmed by this big list of stuff they needed to provide me. And, I kind of let it lay for a little bit. I came back the next day, no response. The next day, no response. Finally, he said, you know what, this is just too much. We're just going to stay with where we are.
Crushing.
It felt like a dagger right here because I knew it's really not that much information, right?
Yeah.
But, as a merchant, if you're getting this big list of stuff thrown at you, you're going to be overwhelmed, you're going to shut down, and you're going to, start thinking and maybe talking yourself out of something that you were very much into initially. So, whereas if I am on the phone with a merchant and I say, hey, I've already collected most of what I need from you, I've gathered this, if you could just make sure it's right. By the way, do you know what like an average transaction amount is? What's your EIN? Can you just snap a copy of your driver's license? That is so easy. And I think it's another way to help that too is just the way that you frame it. Like, hey, do you have your wallet there? Can you just, get your license out? You can snap a photo. You can text it or email it to me right now, right? A lot of that has to do with the way that you frame it.
So I want to make sure I'm hearing you right. So if you send someone a big laundry list of something, they're kind of like feel a sinking. Their heart's going to sink a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, here's a big task list I accomplished, but. What I think I heard you say is you want to put as much of this as you can in a conversation.
Absolutely.
So I'm not seeing the big list. These are all easy to answer one at a time questions. And I may have to go get a few documents, but to your point, I can pull my license out and take a photo of it.
Absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so final question here. Last call for alcohol. If you could create a rule every sales rep had to follow for post-appointment success, what would it be?
I think exactly what we've been saying. Make it easy. Make it easy on yourself. Make it easy on your prospect, right?
Yeah.
Send that follow-up email that is very clear, very explicitly outlines what you talked about. Once you get the yes, the go-ahead, very clearly, this is what I need. Just a couple things. And then I think once you get into that too, is explicitly outlining what those next steps look like. We haven't talked about this a lot, but I'm actually going to touch on this here in my next huddle coming up, is that setting the proper expectations.
Oh, do I smell another podcast topic?
I think so.
All right.
So,
All right.
Just I find this is a big gap as well. But people, they sign the paperwork and they have no idea what's next. Is someone coming out in person to walk me through how to use this? Am I on my own to figure it out? So very explicitly saying, hey, this is it. You're going to go through a brief underwriting process. I expect this is going to be approved in a day or two. After that, my team's going to ship out your hardware. We'll set up a time to get you all trained up on it, and you'll be good to go.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, as always, I love the news you can use. It's great having you on the show, and you've already established, there's no weaseling out of it now. You've already established the topic for your next podcast.
We'll be back.
We'll be back. So folks, thanks for joining us again today. Make sure you come back on Friday. That is Mailbag Friday. And for Whitney Johnson, I'm John Johnson. Until then, keep your mind right.